Hey, what up, everybody? Hey, I said a couple of things in the last video about those second marriages and those breaking up after long-term relationships and how the woman handles that stuff. First off, let me be clear about one thing. Every relationship's got a shot. Depending on what standards you're gauging it by, everybody got a chance. So I don't ever want to discourage anybody from trying to have a decent relationship. The first thing I'll tell you is that the Lord make is the sun shine on the just and the unjust. So whether or not you're actually having a good godly, quote unquote, a good godly situation or not, you can still find some good in it. So I'm not trying to discourage that. I do want to kind of make an analogy about a couple of things now. You know, a union that's blessed by God's order is one thing, and then a union that's not blessed by His order is another thing. If you steal your second or third wife away from your a family member, your brother or a son, you have an affair with them, and then you end up getting them divorced, and then they marry you. You can still have a good time in there from time to time. That doesn't mean your marriage is blessed and it's going to be the spiritual equivalent of a blessed marriage versus a marriage that was born in corruption. So I never want to tell anybody you can't have a good, decent marriage. That's not my point. My point is when you're gauging it by scriptural and spiritual standards, if that's the quality measure, then you might be looking at a different set of circumstances. So basically, I want to say, first off, those second marriages, I've been in one. It was awesome for a good little part of it. And where is the cutoff point? So, for example, let's say you're in your second relationship, you broke up in a long-term relationship, or your spouse, your wife, or you ladies in your situation, your husband has been in a first marriage. My point in that first video was to say that the standard for happiness is different for a man than for a woman. That was one of the points I was trying to make. Also, that if you're gauging by scriptural standards, that's also another way you're going to measure it. Also, perspective. So, for example, at what point is the marriage going bad? Now, let's say your second marriage or your second long-term relationship. Okay, let's say it starts out really good. Now, maybe that good high feeling time is longer than that first marriage. So you're in your fifth, sixth year, and you're still kind of riding that initial high, that initial butterfly feeling, and it's still there, and everybody seems to be compatible, and things are going the right way. That can go on for a good little while. That doesn't mean that the end comes. If it ends, maybe it won't, because I want to acknowledge that also. You can have that first marriage and it can go on forever. That second marriage can go until the end of your days. That third marriage can go to your end of your days. The fourth marriage, and so on and so on. But remember that they're not all the same. So when we talk about having that second marriage and it being blissful, I'm all for that. All for it. God bless you, man. I don't want anybody to be unhappy. I'm trying to make comparisons and shed a little bit of light and observation. I know if you had a bad first divorce, the last thing in the world you want is another divorce in your second marriage. So you're trying to be a little bit more careful, right? You're trying to be a little bit more cautious and make a better decision based on you're a little bit older, you're more experienced, and now you're approaching the situation with a little bit more understanding. Now, if that's not your approach the second time you're going through a marriage, I'm telling you, the first one was just a waste of time. So if you didn't learn from that, then you just go on and keep repeating the same mistakes. Or you look at it like, so for example, that second cup of coffee, is it really necessary to have a second cup of coffee? Well, how do you feel? Well, I like the second cup of coffee. Okay, does it have the same impact as the first cup of coffee? Probably not. Is it just as enjoyable? Probably it is. Do you feel like you really want it after that first cup? Probably. Is it the right amount of cream and sugar? You might want to ask. Did I put the right amount of cream and sugar in the second cup? Is the second cup hotter than the first cup? Or did it cool off, or what happened? Some of this stuff I know is, it's kind of like a personal perspective on things. And obviously, marriage is a very personal decision, and the long-term relationship are just as personal. So each individual has to, decide what do they want to do. I know people who have only been married one time and are so hurt from the first marriage, they just kind of shrunk into a little shell. Got a close friend of mine. I'll call him Kerry just for lack of a better name. Anyway, but I remember when we were younger, man, Kerry was the playboy of the group. Good looking dude, athletic as hell, came from a good family. Mama and father, were like a power couple. We all kind of looked up to him and whatnot. And this guy got married one time and it didn't go right. And I mean, now he's the same age as me, and now he's just kind of like in a shell, like he's not coming out. Come on out of there, man. I don't advise anybody to try to die, to die alone. I've kind of tried to make the observation that, the second long-term relationship, if you don't go in more cautious, you're just kind of being foolish. You gotta be more aware. You're more self-aware. You're more conscious of circumstances, situations, and you're trying to make a better decision. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I know I use the phrases dysfunctional or eligible or dysfunctional. So if somebody is emotionally unavailable, that's a lose-lose situation from where I stand now, because I would be looking for long-term final commitment. I don't want to go through it again. Whereas if you're just looking for sex and a hot, and a blissful couple of hours, watching Netflix and chill, then maybe that's for you. So that second marriage, hey, listen, it can be just as rewarding as the first, and God bless you if it works out. I'm saying for it happens by spiritual definition, that if you think that you need God's blessing in your second marriage and your first one it didn't end right, or you ended it out of God's grace, as the scriptures say, the man who lays with you is committing adultery. You're committing adultery, and the man who's laying with you is committing adultery. So you either believe what God says or you don't. I totally get it. You want to say, well, the men are held to the same standard. Well, they're not. Not by biblical standards and by biblical doctrine. So, take it up with the Lord. You got an issue with it. And I guess, if you don't like the video, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, because I'm just giving you the truth. And I hope you subscribe to the channel if you have not. Subscribe. I just can't, I need some subscribers. And if you got a comment, if you want to oppose it or say, hey, Barry, you're full of crap. Or, hey, Barry, you know what? You're just a dumb butt, and I don't want to hear another word you got to say. Go ahead and say it. Listen, I'm not all sensitive like some of y'all are. I thought the first time I said something, and I had no idea people were going to be like hostile, because, a lot of us are in our second, third, fourth long-term relationship, and we don't want to hear any criticism or any predictions of doom and gloom. So I'm just telling you that I'm not predicting you doom and gloom. I'm saying what the scripture says, and I'm just trying to share a little bit of information. You know, and if friends can't do that, what can we do? My friends, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, pass it on to a couple other people. And if you don't like what I said, then just clap back. Like I say. All right. Hey, I appreciate y'all. Again, subscribe to the channel. Hey, I'm going to be running for Michigan State Senator. I'm hoping to get you guys support. Even though I know a lot of my friends and subscribers are not in Michigan. I totally get it. You can always send me a couple of dollars anyway. Whatever you like. All right. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. And I'll see you next time.